So Together, let's see. Okay, how can I describe it without giving away too much? Together is a rom-com about a surrogate mother. You play the surrogate, but in a twist, you are providing a baby for a single, straight, cisgendered man who is in like Silicon Valley ish and is in his mid 40s and is like, it's time to have a kid, even though he is not partnered. So his character, played by Ed Helms, has your character be his surrogate, but you're not just a surrogate. Y'all become friends. Does that
Yeah.
work? Does that? Okay.
Yeah, and then it ends with me going, "Get over here!" And then I shoot a big tentacle spike out of my hand and just decapitate Ed Helms. And it's about the power of impermanent love. No, that you did an amazing job. That's kind of exactly the movie. You definitely didn't mention the part where Johnny Cage does the splits and punches Goro in the nuts, but other than that, yeah.
Other than that,
No,
how would you describe your? Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I feel like I do a bad job of marketing the movie because like I feel like a thing about the movie that is, makes me like feel anxious is that like I think people project a lot onto it. I don't think like
Why?
like, because like Ed's, the comedies that he's done in the past are so like, like hard comedy, and like I feel like
big comedy.
Yeah, and the stuff that like I've done before, I don't have the platform that Ed has by any means, so I don't think as many
You're
people...
about to. This is the break. It's happening for you. This is your year.
Well, I worry a little bit that like people will come in. There's going to be people coming in, expecting it to be, this like kind of like irreverent comedy, and they're going to get this like gorgeously ambient, meditative, nice movie. But which is great, but also the inverse of that, I'm like anticipating that there will be people who see this 100% who this is their first time seeing me, and I feel like they're gonna be like, oh, and then they're gonna like maybe go look me up, and then it's gonna be like they're gonna see a bunch of jokes I've made about like sucking a dog's and then they're gonna be like, oh no. Oh no. Like I'm ready for the comments. I'm like preparing myself. I'm just gonna have to like back out. Like, why would you say that? Why would you say that? Like, I feel like after I did this bit, like this piece on the Tonight Show, about like the transgender military band that like in 2016, 2017.
18? I forget, but yeah, that was like a big one.
2018?
Like,
oh, yeah.
I don't know. When at 2017, yeah.
2 days ago. And there were people that like it was very like, it was like a team of writers wrote that there. It wasn't just like, me. It was like a bunch of people, because I don't metabolize bad news immediately and think like, oh, I want to write something about it. Like they approached me and were like, we want to address this thing, but we want like a transgender person to do it.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. It was really nice. It was like they thought it was important to like talk about, and they didn't want to be like, they wanted to have like an actual trans person who could like add their experience to it. But they had like, I worked with them and people like pitch jokes. So it was like a lot easier to just like not, feel super funny when it's like other people are writing jokes for you to say and stuff in that moment. But in that same sense, there were a lot of jokes in that piece that aren't in my actual voice, that are a lot cleaner. It's like on TV, national TV. So it's really clean. It's really like, and it's political comedy too, which is something that I don't really do. And, but I think that was like a larger group of people's first exposure to like me. So when that happened, I got like people following me being like, my daughter is trans and she's 7 years old and like, we just think you rock. You rock. We saw that piece and like, God bless you. Thank you for being brave. And then like 2 days later, them replying to like this tweet where I'm talking about like Vanessa Hudgens like taking a big shit in a ditch, and they're like, "Why are you doing this to us? You're disgusting." And I was like, "Well, that's what I'm about. Like, why can't I be both things? Like, why can't I? Why can't you like accept the fact that like the fact that I have kind of like a blue sense of humor or whatever, like why can't that exist in the same person who like holds that sense of humor, because I have a strong moral compass, and therefore things that are, you know, nasty make me laugh because I have a strong sense that they are wrong. So I'm not doing those things, but I'm just like, I don't know. It's like, I feel like let people be
more than one thing.
Yeah, and you know, so I'm just a little nervous with this movie because I think there might be people who are coming in like wanting me to be like, I'm eat my own on screen, and then I'm like,
and you're not doing that. Yeah. How would you describe describe your character in the movie in like 3 words? Because it's a departure from the comedy that we see you do.
She has boundaries. I think it's like in the trailer. She's definitely like I 3 words. I think like maybe like I'm trying to think of a word for like someone who's like someone who has boundaries. Boundaried. Maybe
reticent.
Boundaried. Reticent, great. Absolutely. See, I had reticent floating around, but I was like, I don't know if I'm sure I know what that word means, but you do.
I'm not sure if I know what it means either. Sounds right.
Yeah. Reticent. Radishes. She's radishes. Yeah, and maybe what is it? There's actually a word for someone who's like, you know, shut off a little bit. I think she is smart.
A little, not aloof. She's
not aloof.
Very aware. She's just quiet. And she's quiet and she's soaking it all in.
Yeah, I would say
it's surprising.
Maybe pensive. I don't know. Maybe that's
that is the
right.
word. We should go take the SAT right now because we would knock out the verbal section.
We're
good at that. We know words.
I know words. I never took the SAT, and I took the ACT, and I remember being really proud that my overall score was like, I think I got like a 23 or a 24. And then
That's
I remember,
a good one.
Well, I just was talking to a friend and they were telling me that this younger person that they know had just taken the ACT and was like called them sobbing because they got like a 24. And I was like, I remember getting my scores and being like, I will rule the world, like feeling so horny for my score that I had like, because I think I got a high score in writing. I think I got like a 28 or something in writing, which was like, I think pulled everything else up maybe. But yeah, I think I would definitely trust you. Yeah, I'm definitely ready to go take the SAT with you now. We have to share a test.
We'll do it together.
Say Sam
together,
and Patty.
Together.
Oh no!
Taking that SAT.
I got a nosebleed.
My tripod just fell over.
Oh no! And I got a nosebleed. It like you saying that.
An iconic moment. Do you think if you met the character that you play in this movie in real life, that y'all would get along? She's so different than what we see of you in your comedic work.
I think so. I mean, a part of what really a part of that of the whole process of making this that was really cool was, you know, I read the script and I really liked her character. She seemed like a very real person and like likable. And then, you know, getting to know Nicole Beckwith, who wrote and directed it. I didn't know her at all before we started filming it, but like when we first met to talk about it, I like loved her. I was like, she is so rad. She's so cool, so funny, but like very like I would love if there was a version of me that had a better descriptor than chill, but she's very chill. I'm working with what I have right now in lockdown, and she's very chill. And she, I guess, the more I got to know her in real life, the more I was like, oh, I see like so much of Anna in you. Like I see you and Anna. Like I see there's so many characters who, like, you know, now that I know Nicole so well, it's like, oh yeah, this is your voice. This is the way you say things. This is like the way you word sentences. But Anna specifically is, I think, like only like a few shades away. I think she's the character in the movie that's kind of closest to a version of Nicole. So I kind of get like an even more fleshed out version, I guess, of that character a little bit in my life. So, and that's kind of who I was like, you know, basing the character. Yeah, I would like watch Nicole and listen to how she talked, and I was like, I see the similarities, so I'm just gonna lean into this. Oh, I'm Nicole. That's why the character talks like this. Oh, I'm Nicole. I smell like I'm nasty. I smell like let me have your baby. I love her, and she's just like this nastiest person I've ever met.
This movie is being called a rom-com, but would you call it that? Because your character, Anna, is not falling in love with Ed Helms' character.
Well,
there's a relationship
I think
there.
that's, I think that's,
yeah, you're right. Actually, let me not. Okay. All right, how do I say this? Would you consider this film a romantic comedy? Because in many ways, it doesn't fit right away into that box.
I think it's interesting because when I first read it, I couldn't really tell what genre it was. And I think that's an intention. It's so interesting that this is like if you watched the movie with no context of it, and you like weren't just like in a hypothetical situation where you weren't like aware of like anyone, like, or who anyone was in it, I think it would just be like, you know, I was like, wow, that was like a very like nice, smart movie. And then, but I think it has these very, a lot of kind of structural, you know, subversive things in it that are having a discussion kind of explicitly about gender. Oh my God, gender.
That's
my God, I said gender. Oh my God.
You said gender.
Oh my God, people are going to find out I'm trans. Oh no.
Wait, what? You're what?
I have to go.
Okay.
I have to go to the high heel store and pick up my lipstick and my high. Yeah, they sell lipstick at the high heel store. Oh my gosh, my ovaries are so swollen. The babies are kicking. They want to be born. Gotta go. What was I saying? Some shit. So I was saying some stupid shit. Stupid shit.
You were saying like this is about some larger structure.
I think the movie kind of it's like so many people, you know, are like, what would you consider the genre? What is the genre of this movie? What is the genre of the baby? A genre reveal. They should have a genre reveal for this movie. It's been like, you know, I think the movie in a very smart, subtle way is talking about that, is having that conversation, because I think it is romantic. Like, I think it is a romantic movie. I think it's like, and maybe I have an insane bias because I know everyone who made it so deeply and know what their intentions are and like know them as people, and took part in it. But like, I just felt like it's like such a romantic movie about love, and like it's a comedy, but there's like, it's just, there's so much heart in it. I'm like, how could this kind of be anything else? But it's also like, there's a lot of stuff underneath the surface that I think is trying to provoke discussions around, like, you know, like other movies that have set the standards for the genre, and how they're like rom-coms as a whole. I think like 70% of rom-coms are horrific for our society. I think it's a sick and twisted genre. I think it destroys people's minds. I think it, like, the psychology, the control, and the way it, I mean, I wonder how many, there's no way we'd ever be able to tell, but I do wonder, like, how many relationships on Earth have been destroyed because of expectations set up from
Set by rom-coms.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, all of mine. All of mine.
Exactly. I'm like, somebody, please show up to my door and have just like notes and don't talk and just tell me how much you love me. Or like, when I was 14, I was exclusively trying to date like 90-year-old men. And I didn't find my husband that way, and that was devastating. And now that I'm 15, I'm dating a little younger, but I really want to find that like really old ass man who says I make him feel so young. I don't know. I just want that. That's what every girl wants. That is like every like 14-year-old girl wants a decrepit skeleton of a man to be like, you make me feel so young, come give me a kiss. I think, right? Like, that's what we're modeling in this genre. So,
well, we're also modeling, like, so I rewatched My Best Friend's Wedding last week, because that's what I do. And I realized, in hindsight, watching it now, Julia Roberts' character was, like, low-key a stalker. And
insane.
Doing things that were like illegal. And so much of rom-com energy is like not respecting boundaries, saying that you can do whatever you want if it's love. In this movie, Together, it is all about, as you say, honoring the boundaries that exist between people who are trying to figure out family. And it's so different than like most traditional rom-coms.
Well, it's like, I think there's like, I think there's a world where those movies get to exist. Excuse me, I'm starting to cry thinking about My Best Friend's Wedding. I thinking about Julia Roberts' hair, her curls. I think there's a world where like movies can exist and TV shows, these characters can exist that model horrible behavior, because it is interesting to watch. Like these crazy characters doing like wild things. Those are good stories. Those are exciting stories, sensational. Sure. But like, I think the conversations that we have to be having to contextualize the movies haven't been there before until recently. So like, It's like people are just our society's so stupid and we're so influenced by the TV and by the one TV and the media and movies. I just feel like, people were like, oh, this movie is amazing and I want to be more like that character. Haha, oh, the crazy things we'll do for love. And it's like, no, a lot of this, almost all of the things that happen in this movie are like violent emotional abuse. It's like, I watched There's Something About Mary.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, that one's a journey.
Like a couple of months ago in lockdown. And there were parts in it that I was like, this is still really funny. But as structurally as like Cameron Diaz's character, she is just, I was like, if they remade this movie from her point of view, it would be a horror movie. It would be like every man in the movie lies to her. Like every man in the movie lies to her and manipulates her and pretends to be like disabled, pretend to be like a PI, pretend like the movie ends with like the guy's best friend ends up being her stalker from college, and he breaks into her house and like steals her, like wants to take her shoes, and she's just like, hey man, it's not cool that you're here. It's like she never like escalates it, and it's just, and because she's always like desirable at all times, even when she's being like surrounded by men who like that she is like a doctor who is like 5'10", 110 pounds, like wears no bra, wears little crop tops. Like, that's like, and loves sports. It's like,
oh yeah, cool girl.
I would love to see There's Something About Mary, where we see, you know, that the story of her college stalker and the drama.
Like, there's something about Mary, but it's rewritten by like Diablo Cody.
Yeah.
And they just totally subvert it. So then, okay, if we're both
I went on a
agreeing-
tangent and I forgot that what we were.
No, I like it because
like,
it leads me to the next thing I want to
zoomed in.
ask you, which is if we can agree that rom-coms as a genre are so inherently problematic when you peel back that top layer, were you reluctant to step into a film that is ostensibly a certain kind of rom-com? Did you have trepidation about entering the genre?
Yes, I did. And when I first got the script emailed to me, they just send this little blurb with it, this little log line that says a brief description in, I think, maybe 2 sentences what the movie is about. And it said something like a loner in her mid-20s decides to be the surrogate for an older single guy, and like their relationship unfurls from there or something like that. And I remember that filling me with dread. But like also
Really?
but it was also like reading it for a lead part, and I was thinking, I've never been seen for like a lead part before, so this could be, I want to read it to say I at least, you know, gave it an eye, because I was really comfortable with the idea that I was forever going to be a character actor. And because I think, you know, there are a lot of incredible character actors, but I feel, and that's kind of the vibe, I'm like, up until that point, I'd done a lot of just like little bit parts in shows where I'm rolling up and shooting 1 or 2 days a week, and I'm like, acting is really easy. But it was like, oh, this is like a different opportunity. So I read the script, and it sets up a lot of these tropes. It kind of, in a way that I was really like, oh no, this is going to be that movie. And then it really just dissected all of those expectations that I had, and subverted a lot of what I was afraid was going to happen in a very explicit way.
Yeah.
That I thought was so smart. And Nicole is, in conversation, is one of the most articulate people I've met, in terms of like the balance between when she's sincere and when she is making jokes and when she is like critical. It's kind of this, I think, the Venn diagram for her of that. It's like they're pretty equal. Mm-hmm. She's like one of few people that is very balanced and level, and in a way that I find so alien and up and weird and scary and stupid and ugly. So that's why I decided to work with her, because I was like, I don't know if I'll get to work with someone who's so stupid, so ugly, so up ever again. But no, I think it reflects in the restraint of the writing, and like the movie is like restraint. There's so much restraint in it.
There's blank space that allows a viewer to think about some things. I found myself in the quiet moments thinking about all the questions I have about family, and this movie is making us ask some questions about traditional family structures, traditional roles, and imagining conceptualizations of family that are different. And so when there are those quiet spaces happening in the movie, it allows me to ask those questions of myself. Like, how would I do this if I were making a family? I could do it differently. This movie shows you that, like, you make your own way. You do it your own freaking way.
Yeah. I mean, when we were filming, it was like, I feel like my idea of if and when I would have kids has shifted so much.
Because
think
of the
when
movie?
No, just in my life.
Okay,
And
okay.
like, I think when I was 14, I was like, okay, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to get out of college when I'm like 21, 22. Then I'm going to get married. Then I'm going to like be like rock star musician, scientist. And then I'm going to have kids. And then I will die by 28. And then I'll have lived a happy life. I was like, I don't want to live to see 30. That's unimaginable. And it's like now that I am 30, I feel I'm like, I couldn't imagine having kids in like the next 5 or 10 years. I just feel like I've like just become my adult self. I feel like I'm just now reaching a point where I'm like, oh, I think I understand what my core values are. I hope, I never stop growing. I hope, no one ever stops growing. But like, it's like, oh, now I feel like I'm in a place where I am more cognizant of like of being responsible. So, and then it's like, I don't want to like right at that moment, then bring like a child into my life. But I think with this movie, I think just like with being trans too, it's like, I can't give birth to a baby. I could like give sperm, but it's like I'm on hormone replacement therapy. So, that option will dwindle, I think, the further along I get into it. And so it is pretty contemplative. It's like made me be like, oh, like how would I go about doing it? And I was like, oh, there's this whole world of people that will just do that I never really. Yeah.
You went to where I was going because like this is the part of the conversation where we talk about representation.
My sperm. You wanted to talk about my sperm. And yes. Well, Sam, it is for sale. You guessed it. It is for sale. It is $30 on the dot. It is exactly
for how
$30
much though?
Tax. It's kind of a grab bag. I'm gonna be standing at the. Right outside of La Poubelle in Los Angeles, and I'm gonna have a big black trash bag, kind of like just a big black trash bag, and then people can reach in and as much as you can grab with one hand with $30.
Oh, don't be though. You gotta keep it chilled.
It is chilled. There's loose ice in it. There's loose ice cubes, so people can, and then they can just have their baby and like be a part of that magic.
I can't wait to put the extended cut of this on SoundCloud when we bleep nothing and take nothing out. That's what we're gonna do.
Yes, the Sirius satellite radio, kind of nasty. Sam and the or whatever our show would be called.
So, I do want to ask though how you.
Oh, wait, I want to revise the title. It would be He, She, and the Sam, probably, in order to be on Sirius.
Okay.
It'd be like, He, She, and the Sam. And yeah, I'm allowed to say he, she because I identify as he, she. Yeah. That was like the first, I'm totally tangenting, but I think that was like the first time I was like, when I was a kid, my sister called me a he, she. My sister was my age. And I was like, I'm going to look into that. I'm kind of figure it out.
Flash forward.
Hey, don't say that to me. But also, what was that word you said? Can you how do you spell that? Kind of sounds nice. Let me look into that.
I wonder how much you thought about all of that and representation taking this role. Because, like, we've seen movies where a cis hetero actor plays someone queer or trans. Actors who aren't disabled play somebody who is disabled. White actors play characters of color. I see you, Scarlett Johansson. But I'm not sure I've ever seen an actor who was a trans woman play a cis woman who was pregnant. Was that a big deal for you, or did you not even freaking care?
It was a big deal.
Yeah.
When I first, was thinking about whether or not I was going to work on it, because I think the optics of it, are definitely there. I wondered, I was like, is it too on the nose? Is it like a stunt casting thing? Is it, is it going to be, is the fact that like I'm not always like passing going to be like to the detriment of the movie, like people being able to watch the movie? Will it put that in people's mind? Because I felt like ultimately, like, you know, those were apprehensive questions I had, maybe that aren't necessarily true, but they definitely like came into my mind. And I did have the moment where I felt, I don't know, I'm like, it's like the poop, or the idea of the poop. It's like, you know how sometimes you get that poop that has like the really sharp part? It's like the little part of the
mine
nut.
is so smooth, so clean. All my poop is just.
Well, you see, you have to say that because you're NPR, because you represent NPR, and the idea that you would have a little sharp part in your poop would actually be, they would check in with you after. They'd be like, hey, Sam.
Oh, yeah.
So we noticed that you
talk about the fecal matter.
It implies that we do not feed you fiber. We do not give you, and so you have to say that you're poop. So I understand you, and I blink twice. Blink twice if it's sharp. Oh my gosh, it's so sharp.
It is a knives out, girl.
It's Gillette.
Knives out in that bathroom.
Gillette turd. It's like 4 razors, the smoothest shave coming out. But I just got the image in my brain of like a poop coming out made of shaving razors, and it's shaving. Since you don't have hair inside your colon or whatever, it shaves off.
How do you know?
The cilia.
Well, my colon has hair in it.
Well, you know,
God.
you know how you have like the cilia that moves your poop along, that are like little fibers or whatever. Am I making that up? Mm-hmm. That moves stuff along.
It sounds good to me.
Well, that it shaves those, so that it's nice and smooth. Anyways, and that's what I want to talk about today.
Yes. In this essay, I will.
Yeah, in this essay, I will. What were we talking about? We were talking about representation, and then the idea, I was having a hard time articulating the idea. Okay, so I did think about all of those things, and I was like apprehensive, and but ultimately, what was important for me was to be, I think, to what you literally said at the beginning of like the interview, was like, what do I want to do? Like, is this something that I want to do? And I was like, what is the thing that I want to do? And the thing that I want to do is like, I want to get to act in a movie that the script's good. And it's like my first time to play a lead. And like, that's like the core of what I want, without all of the expectations of like other people and all this cultural context that I'm afraid will be projected onto me. And I'm sure like TERFs are like, whacking off to this. Like, I've already seen some posts about it. Like before I was off Twitter, I saw like people, TERFs talking about it, like, look, he's playing a woman and they're gonna clap for him and blah blah blah. And I was like, yeah, they are. Like, they are gonna clap for me. Yeah. Like, they are. It's like,
well, and also every time that anybody plays someone pregnant on TV, they've all just got a pillow stuffed under there anyway. Like, it's like, if anybody can put the pillow on, why would anyone freak out about it? It's also kind of just like, let it happen. Yeah,
I mean, it's not the opportunities for transgender actors there. Okay, so I want you to see what's happening right now.
Yeah. What is he doing?
There is a man cleaning the gutters. Cleaning the leaves out of the gutters at my boyfriend's house right now. It's very sweet, and he's making eye contact with me, which is cute.
We should have waved. This is I know. Let him come on the mic.
Bring him inside, and then we have like passionate sex on camera. Yeah. And then I'm like, sorry, Sam, I'm being very apologetic. But yeah, I think I wish it wasn't like it shouldn't be a big deal. I think hopefully we'll get to a place where. Oh, my boyfriend is telling. My boyfriend's being nice, and he's telling. Oh,
Look at
Oh
that
my gosh!
chivalry.
Oh my gosh! I turned it away just in time because now they're having passionate sex. Oh no! It's okay. It's okay. We
You
like
need
had
to go
a discussion
join.
about.
You need to go join. I can't
I'm
keep
actually
you from
gonna
that.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just bought a huge chain of condoms. I'm like ready to go. I can't wait to have protected sex right when we get to take our masks off. That's the first thing I'm gonna do is have a bunch of sex with a ton of condoms.
Yeah.
With my
as one
partner,
does.
my monogamous partner.
So then, if you're saying that you don't want this to be too big of a deal, you just get to play this role because you like this role, how do you think you're going to react to folks who are on your side who make it a big deal? You in this role and perhaps the firstness of it.
I don't know. Like, I do see a lot of people or like write-ups about it focusing on that part of it and the significance of that. And I think it is like, you know, it's not something that I think should be completely omitted from the conversation about this movie, but I hope that it's not the overarching part of the conversation. Because what my deepest fear is if I gave like a shitty performance and people are like PC clapping for me because they were like, we can't on this because she's trans and she's one of the girls. So even though she did an absolutely job, there are so few opportunities for like these trans actors, so we have to say this movie's good so people see it so it does well so there's more opportunities. My thing is, if I sucked ass, great, there should still be opportunities. Like, it doesn't matter if I sucked ass. I just feel that would be the one thing that I don't want people to overemphasize, because I think it takes away from like all of this other like meat to watching the movie and like around it with like Nicole and Ed and all the people who worked on it. It's like that's such a conversation that's more, you know, a sideline conversation to the overall, which is like, I think there's something to be said about like Nicole casting me, like Nicole feeling really like emboldened to cast someone who she was like, it just matters to me that like I know you can do a good job and you can deliver it the way that I like really want it to be done, the way I saw it. So like that was like the most important thing to me, and it was such a gift that she gave to me because I was on set and it was, you know, working these like insane days and that were really long and really early, and it was so exhausting. It was really fun, but it was also just like I was so tired I didn't really have time to, you know, think about anything else until like afterwards, and then I spiraled out. But like I don't know, it's like, yeah, it felt cool to have this like weird bite of like normalcy, that it's like, oh, these are the opportunities that kind of everyone else gets. These are, and like,
well, and it's and just like having the privilege to just enjoy the work and do the work without any other baggage tied to it. That's, I think, what we want. You know, like I see those freaking, and they're all over LA, those like people around comedy and TV and movies, the like white guys who are 6'2" and just always seem happy and everything is just like pretty straightforward and they just go about their lives and do their work. And there's a certain carefreeness about their careers because they're just doing what they want to do. And when I think about how visibility works and representation works, I want at a certain point everyone who's not that, the brown and the black babies, the queer babies, the trans babies, I want us to be able to feel that carefree about our work. That's what I want.
Yeah, I mean, to live in a world, especially if you're like, if you consider what you're doing like creative or art, where you can express like yourself, these other parts of yourself outside of the boxes of like identity that other people are projecting on you in this like zeitgeisty moment where it's such like, it's like, oh, there are people who are like, I need to be talking about, there are people who are performatively discussing these things in a way that is eerie. And so to like do something that I'm really proud of with with like these people that I love that has nothing to do with me like being trans, and then it becomes like the entire conversation for some people around it. I think it takes away like agency a little bit. It takes away this like feeling of that the work and stuff that I do can't stand on its own, and that like any sort of marginalized person, not even like just trans people, but it's like a lot of like gatekeepers in production, and that are they have good intentions and they're trying, but I think they think good intentions is enough, or trying is enough. It's like, even if they're not getting it right, they're like, well, I'm trying. And it's like, okay, well, keep trying, like keep doing it, and like keep being open to, don't like close off to criticism if you try and you fail. And I know that's like a hard thing. It's like a hard thing to kind of stomach because people are sensitive, but like, I just feel like there's so many moments where it's like in my personal experience, I've had people who are gatekeepers be like, we'd be interested in making something with you if you want to make something about you like being trans and struggling and like, coming out, and maybe like a story where you're like, it's before you were trans and then you came out, and like how like maybe like if your character's family kind of like had a hard time with that, or they like rejected you, and you find your like found queer family. And I was like, you have not asked me what my interests are. You have projected all of this onto me based on like these like perceptions and stereotypes about like what you think my interests are.
Yeah. And it's like cisgendered people putting their version of trans onto you, or like white people putting their version of blackness onto me. It's like, no.
Yeah.
You don't do that.
And it's not just like any like white person or cis person doing that. It's like the people who hold the keys. It's like the people who are like, you not only have the task of like it's like, okay, if I want something made, how much do I compromise like, this authenticity that I'm guarding or whatever with my work? And like, how do I like communicate this maybe in a way that they'll understand it? It's like all this weird onus of like responsibility is then put on you in those moments to kind of like be like, is this like a teaching moment? Is this where I have to like try and explain to you as kindly as I can that like what you're actually asking of me is like not great? And if you were really like, marching toward that like inclusivity right or whatever, it's like that means giving people opportunities outside of what you perceive their opportunities should be, or like that you give them in terms of like, oh, like, yeah, so we want to green light like a bunch of projects by like Asian creators, but only if they're about like, they're the
family restaurant,
the boat children. Yeah. It's like those stories are authentic and real, but you need to have lateral space for other, like for Asian people or people of color, Black people and trans people and all the intersections of that, to make things at like in these other unfilled spaces that like a lot of white creators like by default have access to and are immediately seen for. Yeah.
Which is why I'm urging everyone to go out as soon as they can and see Patti Harrison in the Mortal Kombat reboot. It's great.
It's an all trans reboot of Mortal Kombat where I actually play every character because I refuse to work with other trans actors because I think they are annoying, and a lot of times they're prettier than me, and it's not okay.
Yeah.
And so I kind of like, I did push my foot through the door, but then I slammed it shut behind me. I just want people to know that. I'm not trying to make space for other trans women. I'm also cis, which is weird. I just kind of like look trans because I have a lymph node that's swollen in my throat that people think is an Adam's apple. And it's actually, I'm really cis. All my it like really hurts right now. Just so you know. I know that's TMI. But.
No, it's beautiful. Oh my God. Patti, I could talk to you all day. I'm really happy that we had this time to talk together. Your mind does things that I just think are incredible. And seeing you in this film and talking to you now, I appreciate every little side of you. So thank you,
Thank you,
Sam. This was a
Sam.
lovely chat. Thank you.
It was so nice to talk to you. Thanks for having me on.
Likewise. Oh my God, come back anytime. To Fergie.
To Fergie. Oh, that's okay. I was gonna try and like go into a riff of hers. People in the place. Great. That's probably they have to cut that because it's like licensed music.
Nothing cuts. Uncut gems on SoundCloud tomorrow. This whole thing.